I can put it in the chat,
Okay, perfect.
but I also emailed it to you.
Thank you.
I'm only going to stay for a couple, first part of this, because I have a meditation on Mondays at this time.
Oh, nice.
So I don't
That's
usually come to this meeting.
Well, thank you for coming, joining us. Hello, other folks.
Hi, I'm Miriam.
Hi, Miriam. Nice that you're here. Is this your first time with us?
I've been part of the safety committee at Bridgeport,
Oh, okay.
so I started wanting to attend these meetings as well.
Fantastic. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I feel like this is going to be romper room for me, my magic mirror. I see, I'm dating myself. I see Arlene is here. Hello, Arlene. How are you?
Good.
And Howard is here. So now, Ruth Ann, you can chastise Howard directly.
I'm not chastising Howard. Howard, where are you?
He's vlogging.
I'm here.
Are you going to do your numbers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't want to bother you with them.
That's okay. Then when you're done with them, Bill, send them over to me.
Okay.
And then I'll do what I was going to do after his numbers. That makes sense.
And I see Anne is here. Hello. And Larry. Howard. Oh. Of course, Mr. Warner is going to come sliding in right at 5:59:59.
He waits until your clock goes ding ding.
He does. He's waiting for my clock has become.
I have 5:59.
Yeah, so do I. 5:59:14. So he's coming through here. Well, while he's arriving, which I know he is, we did put out in our newsletter this weekend, we are having another, oh, there's my clock. And there's Warner. There he is, coming in.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh,
we're having
wow.
another Pearl District happy hour this week, so be sure to send me a note if you want to attend. It's Saturday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, great. That was nice last time. Thank you.
Yeah. There's Mr. Warner.
Hello. Listen to that clock. I'm just squeaking by here.
We were just talking about you.
I bet. Sorry if anybody reason to be concerned. I'm well and glad to see all of you this evening. And let's how many, we only have 15 people here, so or 16 or so. So why don't we say hello quickly, go around the room. So Bill, I see you. I know Bill Bagnall, and I hope everybody does Bill. I'm saying hi for you to make it easy. Arlene is over at the Casey. Hi, Arlene. Ruth Ann is over at Station Place, I think. And Sampson is at Waterfront Pearl. Larry, where are you?
I'm at the Elizabeth Loft.
Thank you. Howard is not on the screen yet, but he is at.
I'm not?
No.
Oh.
We thought you were being shy.
You're black.
No. Why? Oh, my camera's not lit. Okay, let me figure that out. I have new equipment.
He's Zoom ready now.
We'll get back to you, Howard. Lindsay,
Okay.
Mark, you guys are at the Westover. You put that in your name thing. That's helpful. Patrick Stevens at the Metropolitan. Patrick recently got a battlefield promotion, I think, to being the operations director on behalf of the Homeowners Association there. So that's exciting. I'm sure he's thrilled. Richard, you're at the Met as well. Mike Holstein over at, geez, I'm blanking now.
Marshall Wells Lofts, it's called.
Thank you, appreciate it. And then MC on the iPhone, where are you?
From Bridgeport.
Bridgeport, thank you. And I see Judy Bradley, who is over at Waterfront Pearl as well. Ricky, you're at McKinsey Lofts?
Riverstone.
Riverstone, sorry, I moved you. Gwen Dully, I think Gwen that's probably Gwen Dully, and you're at Bridgeport. And then Julia Walter. Julia, where do you live?
I'm at Vista. Hi, John.
Hi, good to see you. And then Shane, where are you at? Where are you at?
I'm with CWD Group.
Oh, you're okay. A property management firm. Eddie, is that Eddie at the Met? It is? Okay. Super.
Yeah,
Hi,
I think
Eddie.
so.
And then Sean, where are you?
I'm in Mackenzie Lofts.
Great. And Sharon's iPad. Where is Sharon's iPad?
Bridgeport.
Thank you. And then I'm not going to try to pronounce Mr. or can you help me out? Layf. Say it for me.
He's muted. So, yeah.
You're muted. Well, while we're waiting there, then Christine Herzog, where are you?
Hi, I'm here. No video turned on. Are you asking what address I'm at?
Oh, yeah, just the name of the building or the part of town.
Oh, sure. I'm in the Louisa.
Super, great. And then Leif? Leif?
Not muted now.
Right.
Okay, well, Howard, there you are. Remind me where you live, Howard.
The Vista.
Thank you, I thought that was right.
Right.
And then I think Linda has joined us and it says Everett Micro Lofts, right? Okay, well, great. We
Hi,
got
everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Yes, I'm over here at Everett Microlofts. Nice to be with all of you tonight. Happy pre-holidays.
Brand new one.
Yes, great. Thanks, Linda, for joining us. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here. As everyone hopefully knows, the ePrep committee meets on the second Monday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. in lieu of the weekly COVID forum, which happens every other Monday of the month from 4 to 5 p.m. So it's exciting. We're getting back in a rhythm here for the Emergency Preparedness Committee. Our agenda this evening is to start off with just a quick update, not to try to steal the thunder of the COVID forum, but things are happening in real time these days. And so I just asked Howard and/or Ruth Ann if you guys want to give us a very brief, just kind of snapshot on where things stand today.
No.
Oh.
No, I want the lights on.
Oh, okay. You don't want me to share my screen?
Oh, I'll get you there in a second. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
for you here.
Okay.
Hang on one sec.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. I have new equipment, so if I'm not as facile as I usually am, forgive me. So can you all see that?
Yes.
See the data I put up? Okay,
Yes.
so in the United States, up here, and this is a day out of date, and it's already astonishing how much occurs in a day. We had 1.4+ million cases last week in the United States, compared to 1.3 the week before. And again, last week, it took 4 days to accumulate 1 million cases. And that compares, say, with the first part of the pandemic when it took us 98 days to reach 1 million cases. So things are not going terribly well. And we have almost 17,000 people died in the United States last week. And as you know, today we reached 300,000 dead. And that's just staggering. In Oregon, actually, for the first time since the first week in November, if I recall right, we actually had fewer cases this week, 9,300 compared to 10,300 last week. Our positivity rate is about 7%. I'm not certain I'm getting that right because the state has changed everything, and I'm doing the best I can given that. And again, last week in Oregon, 122 people died compared to 128 the week before. As the surge occurs that's been going on since November, the case fatality rate keeps creeping up. I imagine because we're really overwhelming the hospitals, and while there are still beds, I can't imagine that the care doesn't suffer. In fact, I noticed you won't. Last week they said there were 352 staffed ICU beds. This week the state said there were 342. So we lost 10 ICU beds, I presume, because we don't have the staff. The ICU utilization is up to almost 86%, and in our region, and in terms of non-ICU beds, utilization is 91%. And down here, and just looking at Multnomah County separately, we also had somewhat fewer cases, more than 100 fewer, 200 fewer cases than we had the previous week. The positivity rate, if this is to be believed, is dropping. And I'm not sure I'm getting that right yet. And we had a few more deaths in Multnomah than we did the week before, and the case fatality rate is really creeping up to 2%. So that's the epidemic in Oregon and in the United States.
Thank you, Howard and Ruth Ann. We always appreciate the work you guys do on our behalf at the COVID Forum, and the quick snapshot is always helpful here because, like you said, things are changing so fast on the ground that I didn't really want to go, 2 weeks without a report. Because
I have a few things to share as well.
Okay, we don't really have a whole lot of time, so make it
Well,
brief.
it's hold on a minute. Can you share my screen? Okay. Everybody see it?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on a minute. Sorry, of course, the minute you do something. Okay, now do you see it?
No.
Sorry. Huh, one point shared it. Do I have to do anything else, Bill?
No, just hit the green, share screen button.
I did.
No.
There, I got it. There, it finally opened. Sorry about that. I have a RAM problem. I just wanted to go over the zip code. And for December 9th, and I used the Oregon Live site, which is Oregonian Live. And you can see we've had a considerable increase. These numbers have been challenged a bit, so I'm not going to emphasize them a great deal because as you can see, there's a little inconsistency. But just to know that we're tracking it by zip code. I also wanted to make sure you saw the vaccine distribution and the preliminary allocations. And I'm going to put this report into the chat so you can download it and read it if you'd like. And basically, Legacy Health was the first registered vaccine provider in the state to receive the vaccine made by Pfizer. The health system's Holiday Park site, which I think we all know in Portland, and the Meridian Park site in Tualatin, each received one package, 975 doses today at 7 a.m. Alleluia. So the machine's working. It's getting us things. And just one final reminder, this is from the Department of Health Authority, really to consider not going anywhere for the holidays. I know this is a painful topic for many people, but I feel it's one of the key messages that our governor and hospital folks and everyone else is talking about. So that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. Appreciate it. So let's, I mean, we spend, you know, a whole hour on the COVID forum every week on this. So please, if you feel that was abbreviated, apologies. We wanted to focus on disaster sanitation and water storage this evening. But please do join us for the COVID forum every other Monday. Ruth Ann, is that you or Joe? Somebody's got some background noise and they should mute it. Or maybe Gwen, I don't know. So let's get into the main part of our conversation this evening. As I mentioned earlier, you know, we when the pandemic hit, normal operations for the EPREP committee kind of went into hiatus. We didn't meet for quite a while, and we're kind of starting to reconstitute, you know, normal operations for the committee. One of the last things we talked about when we had regular monthly EPREP committee meeting over at PNCA was we did a tabletop exercise looking at likely impact of an earthquake, a major earthquake in the Pearl District. And one of the among the many things we looked at, which was, you know, building damage, debris, casualties, food, critical services, long-term displacement. Those were all topics we talked about. But the one we're talking about this evening was water. And the tabletop exercise we ran suggested that we might only have a little bit over 1.5 days of water available, and potable water available to drink in the neighborhood after a major earthquake. And that could be the case for some extended period of time until the water distribution infrastructure services were reestablished. And so based on those kind of sober findings, we began to develop a campaign to mitigate our vulnerability to water shortage by encouraging the building EPREP committees, the committees in each of the vertical communities in our neighborhood, to consider running a campaign within their communities to promote that their individual residents in the community purchase water storage containers to keep, you know, some reasonable amount of water on hand. The general guidance is you're supposed to have 14 days of water, 1 gallon per person per day. So that'd be 14 gallons of water per person in your household is what's recommended. And then people usually say, we don't have room enough for that. And then I say, well, how much room do you have? So that's a totally different conversation. But ideally, 14 gallons per person would be a good point of reference for preparedness. And so and based on the good work we're going to hear about in a moment or two that was done previously at the Metropolitan under Patrick's leadership, they did a group bulk buy of water containers made by Sagan. It's called the Aqua Brick, and it's a 3-gallon, very durable blue container with a removable lid that you can put a spigot on. And then after that, the Waterfront Pearl, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, ran their own a similar campaign in their building. So I'm going to, in a moment, ask either Anne or Judy or whoever would like to speak up at Waterfront Pearl about their experience, and then also invite Patrick from the perspective of the Metropolitan to provide some commentary just on how that went. But I've worked pretty closely with Patrick kind of to debrief on the process they used and lessons learned. And we're thinking through a strategy for a broader neighborhood-wide campaign. And I've reached out and negotiated with the manufacturer, Sagan Water or something, a group buy that's even a better discount than Patrick and company got. And so we have the ability to purchase en masse these 3-gallon water containers. We could buy them by the truckload, literally, but I don't know that we could handle that. So we can buy them by the pallet, shrink wrapped pallets. I think a half dozen of those pallets could easily fit in a semi trailer. So we could get probably as many containers in a given week as we might possibly aspire to be able to have a very successful, group buy program being run by the individual EPREP committees in all of the buildings, hopefully in the Pearl District, right? So there's a way forward on this, but the question is, are folks willing and interested in participating? So without further ado, I'd love to invite Patrick and should either of them wish to just give us a little bit of a kind of a snapshot of how things went and any lessons learned that would be useful for our conversation this evening.
Sure, I can give you a quick rundown. First of all, the aqua brick containers are quite sturdy and well built from my experience, and we succeeded in getting 58 households to purchase them. You can see John Warner holding one up there. And we purchased, and most of those households were in the metropolitan, although perhaps 8 of those households were external. For instance, John Warner bought some as part of our buy. And then they have a spigot also, which you can attach or detach, but the spigot can help you dispensing the water. So I have received only one complaint or report of any problems with them. And basically it's because the person didn't follow my advice and had their spigot on a full container as they were moving it around from room to room in more of a storage fashion. And the containers, when full, weigh 27 pounds. They're a little awkward anyway. Apparently the spigot hit the doorway or something like that and broke. So that's why you want to not put it on until you're ready to actually use it. But other than that, and we have a motor home, which we actually have used a number of times this past summer during COVID. And we take a couple of aqua bricks with us, and they are quite sturdy and quite handy and usable. So that's, and our deal was, instead of $28, we got them for $20 a piece. I don't know if the prices are in the same range anymore. And the spigots were $19.95 each, and we got them for $13.99. So it was a significant discount, which helps incentivize people to join the program. And as far as how the program went, I decided to run it entirely myself and handle all the money, which is of course a little bit crazy to do. But it turned out fine. Everybody was very responsible, although there's always the last 10% of people who have this or that problem taking delivery or coming up with the money or whatever. But anyway, that did get all resolved 100%. So it was a very successful program, and I really encourage people to support doing a similar thing through the Pearl District. And in fact, I've had a number of inquiries since we closed out our program of people who were interested in purchasing. So that's all I'll say for now, unless anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Patrick. And did you want to offer any perspective from Waterfront Pearl about what you guys did?
Well, we got some great information from Patrick, so we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We had flyers and folders that he had made up, which we just put our name on, which was really helpful. And again, we did get a discount, $20, and the spigots were $13.99. We had about 20 families and about 80 bricks were purchased. And people, even though it was well publicized and whatever, afterwards we did get requests for them. So there would be, you know, a market if we wanted to do it again. But I don't know if we would get enough to get that kind of a discount, although you're talking about an even better discount if it's through the Pearl. Based on Patrick's experience, you know, we did some things like he did. We printed up a description of how to use them and laminated it and gave it to each household. We also got a pallet, and it was delivered. We were worried that it was going to be set on our sidewalk, and how were we going to deal with it? But when it was delivered, the delivery people actually took the clear plastic off it and brought in, the pallet was boxes of 6, but it was then shrink wrapped on a pallet. So they brought in these cardboard boxes of 6, which made it easy for us. Some people bought 6 because we just labeled their boxes, and then we opened boxes and we used labels that we had already made up, printed, and we used twine to tie them all up. It was COVID time, so we tried to do as much in advance and just have one person with masks doing that. Then it was a simple matter of, we had runners from our E-Prep committee and some volunteers, and they had masks, and they just grabbed a clump that were twined together and we set them outside the doors of the people that had bought them. And that way we didn't have to go into their place, and they didn't have to come in and out of their units. And so based on, you know, we appreciate Patrick's experience, we kind of set it up and it worked. It was very easy. Now we did ask people to, well, I know, first we did a survey because we needed to know if we had to get X number of units in order to get the discount. So we put that out in our newsletter, and we had enough interest. So then we put it out and we said, but you must pay us up front and it has to be a check. And I collected all the checks because I have no other way of getting money, or it could be cash, but checks were better because then I could really handle them better. Everybody wrote me a check, and I put it on my credit card. And then I put all the checks in the bank. Looked like I was rich for a minute till the credit card. I had to pay the credit card, but it worked really well. Nobody's check bounced. And we only had one person in all of those that had trouble with the seal, and we think that he just ground it down too tightly. But Sagan, the guy we dealt with was Jacob Muir. I think it's probably the same guy you dealt with, Patrick. But Sagan didn't even think twice about it. They just sent him 2 new ones. And in that box, he put his old ones in it and mailed it back. And it was all postpaid. He didn't have to pay a cent. And his new ones worked. But he did keep telling me to tell him, grind it down and then back it off slightly so that it won't torque the seal so much. And another person had some leaks, and I gave them that advice, and that fixed it. All they did is they just tightened it, but they were trying to tighten it too much, and it kind of torqued the seal a little. No one else had any problems with them so far, so if anybody wants to do it, these flyers and whatever, advertising it, and then saying the prices, they're all from Patrick, and you can just stick your own building on it. They're very good. They show a picture of the spigot, and they show a picture. Let's see. Yeah, I'll get this right. They show a picture of that. They tell about what it's for. And the only other thing I would say is that we told people to go on YouTube. Oh, did I hit mute? No. To go on YouTube and type in aqua brick versus water brick. The very first thing that comes up, and aqua brick is all one word with A and B capitalized, and water brick is all one word with W and B capitalized. And what comes up is an 8-minute video saying aqua brick versus water brick. And it's by this Adam Kabakungen. It's the first thing that comes up. It's very good because it really explains why you would want to buy an aqua brick versus the very good water brick. It's just, you know, I won't go into it here because we don't have that much time. I can tell you a few of the points, but basically it was very helpful to have people to take a look at that YouTube video, and then they really understood why we were promoting this. Any questions? Judy, do you have anything to add? Because you really got all the info from Patrick and started the ball rolling, and then I just had to do the legwork.
Yeah, no, I mean, other than, you know, Ann and I worked together on this, and it just, you know, the collaboration worked really well. It didn't take us all that much time. And I think afterwards, when we were talking together and evaluating how it went, we thought it went exceptionally well. I mean, better than to be expected, probably, and that we would do it again. You know, we did say, you know, you make a first pass through the building, and, you know, and we got our in excess of 50 orders. Or I mean, a quantity of 50 bottles ordered. So we talked about doing it in the spring or the summer. I mean, it's probably going to be later than that now, but I think we could potentially pick up a lot more orders, you know, after people have had time to think about it or new people have moved in. So it went well, and we'd do it again. You know, either on our own or with you, John, if you could even get a better discount.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to have two real life experiences from communities in our neighborhood that have done this, and it sounds like it went pretty well. So, and again, just to clarify, the aqua brick is made by Sagan Life, and then the water brick is made by another manufacturer. They're kind of functionally the same. I saw the same video that Ann saw. I prefer the design of the aqua brick. I think it's superior. But you know, if you don't like it, look at the video. If you really like the other one, we'll buy the other one. But have I got a deal for you? Because Jacob at Sagan Life has been willing to give us a really good price on these. Now, you guys got your $20 per brick and a $13.99 per spigot, and they included shipping in your deal. And so my deal is more like a wholesale purchase where I'm getting the bricks for $16.25 instead of $20. And I'm getting the spigots for $11 instead of basically $14. So sounds like a real bargain, but then we have to pay shipping. And I've got, you know, and the shipping is based on the actual cost of shipping from a shipper. And for shipping, presumably big pallets of these things, right? So I've got a template in front of me that suggests, you know, based upon how many pallets we're shipping, what the total cost would be. So if we got 4 pallets, I think the price could go down as low as, with shipping, could be as low as about $17. So just, you know, not much of an increase, like 75 cents per bottle for shipping. So it still comes out way ahead of the group buy that that Patrick and Ann got building, their communities got to take advantage of. So go ahead, Ann.
Just really quickly, ours came with shipping, and Jacob was shocked. The day that I finally put the order in, I decided I didn't want the pallet because that was going to be too hard. I said, ship it differently. He had a choice. And he goes, no problem. And then he called me back in an hour and said, oh my Lord, the shipping has tripled in price. I cannot send it to you that way. I have to use a pallet. And so I said, okay. Then we were quite afraid of a pallet being dumped on but it doesn't matter. It worked out fine. But shipping now, everybody is, the price of shipping now is very fluid, that's all I'm saying. And that if you're going to do it with shipping, I would get the price nailed down, and no matter what happens, he might have to eat some or whatever, but I wouldn't. What we did is he just said free shipping, and then he went to click the buttons on his computer, and the number that came up was completely different than what he expected. And so we couldn't ship it the way we wanted.
Right. So our proposal is we take the risk on the shipping. but we would also negotiate what that would be, because we would actually get, you know, an actual contract for the shipping, so we'd know before we pulled the trigger what it was going to cost us. And so, you know, we'd probably do a trial run analyzing that likely cost, knowing that it's subject to change, just to make sure that we're still in the same ballpark we're talking about. And if we are, then we could run the campaign to get enrollment in it. And then obviously we'd have to confirm the shipping at the time we placed any given order. And I imagine that we might even place a series of orders, you know, getting pallets delivered to individual buildings, if a building had that kind of appetite and the ability, as Anne and Patrick's communities did, to be able to take delivery of a pallet and put it in the loading dock area, and then move it somewhere else so it's not blocking people's ability to use the loading dock. And an alternative discussion that Patrick and I have engaged in, and I need to follow up, is I wanted to approach REI, you know, the Recreational Equipment Inc., and see if they might serve as a cross-docking facility for us as a part of their goodwill to the neighborhood, be able to have a truck deliver to them multiple pallets, and then, you know, already have those pallets sold in advance and subscribed on a building basis, and then have a representative or two of each building show up at the loading dock at REI, and, you know, at scheduled times, and take delivery of their building's allocation of those, right? Now, it depends on how many your building is getting. At some point, it would make a lot more sense to get the pallet delivered to you than you having to go and transport it from REI back to your community. So, you know, what makes sense for any given community will vary depending upon how many you're getting, right? So those are details that are to be worked out. But I guess for the purposes of this conversation, I think that we can figure out a strategy to get these in bulk at a good price, to make it make sense, because there would be no better and cheaper option for the community to get these. And, you know, the goal would be literally to get thousands of bottles of these bottles of water in the neighborhood, right? We've got over 7,000 residents, right? I mean, if you do the math, that 7,000 times 14 gallons divided by 3, which is the number of gallons per bottle, that's a lot of bottles. So, I mean, you know, when all is said and done, a very successful campaign is still probably not going to completely address our water shortage needs. But I mean, that, you know, we don't need to let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. I think I'd like to try to stand up a campaign, but it really depends on, you know, having buildings say, okay, this sounds doable. Let's get the stuff from Patrick and Ann and look at it, see if we're still comfortable with it, and then customize that information, you know, get a schedule set up, and then start this as a programmatically in the neighborhood, right? So we've got orders being aggregated, we're grossing them up to a total amount so that we're able to buy pallets, or preferably multiple pallets, you know, get a truckload of these things, literally a trailer truckload of them coming into the neighborhood. And therefore we get them at a good discount, and we get them in sufficient volume to really address the potential dire situation we might face with regard to the scarcity of water in our neighborhood after a big earthquake. So I'd love to just open it up and get reactions from folks, concerns, questions, comments at this point, and we'll go from there. Mike first, and then Arlene.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
A couple of things. I really applaud this, especially since it benefits individual homeowners. But I do have a second option that we have successfully used at Marshall Wells Lofts. And that was to buy a pallet of liter bottles of water from Slabtown New Seasons. They gave it to us at cost. There were 200, I think it was either 1,900 or 2,200 liter bottles packed in wrapped cases of 24. And that was about $600 at cost. They said that they would deliver to our building, but we didn't have to do that. Someone had a panel truck, and we took a couple of cars, packed it, and brought it over ourselves. But they loaded our panel truck and cars. They were very generous with offers to help. Now we have stored that water. The building HOA bought that for us. And we have stored that water on our 6 floors. We have old telephone rooms that were used that had space available. So we divided those 1900 or 2200 into 6s and then stored those on each floor. So that's another successful option, but I do really favor individual homeowners from also providing storage. The second thing is I did some research on what is the absolute survival requirement for keeping alive? How much water do we have to have per day to keep alive? And I looked at several sites. One was a US Army site, and I forget the other one. But they said a liter of water a day, a liter of water a day. You're going to be very thirsty. And of course, that depends on the time of year and your activity. But if you're quiescent and it's not too hot, you can survive on a liter of water a day. So I know they speak in terms of gallons, and that I think that's for flushing and cleaning as well as drinking. But as far as drinkable water, you will stay alive. You won't thrive, but you will stay alive. And to me, that's reassuring. That puts the quantity in more doable, in more doable fashion. But I realize that is still going to be difficult and make us very uncomfortable. So that's what I have.
Well, thank you. I just want to make a couple of comments quick about what Mike said, and then Arlene, you're up next. So first, Mike was saying, the difference between individual versus community or collective approach. And, I'm always about belts and suspenders, right? I mean, it's good to maybe do both, but ultimately when it comes to food and water, I really think that's best handled at the household level because, people have different dietary needs with regard to food. And then with regard to water, the ability to move water around potentially in a building that doesn't have elevators, may not have lights, may have debris that makes it more difficult to move around. It's just, I think it makes more sense to pre-position the water where you need it. And to do that as an individual household, taking responsibility at the household level for your needs, knowing how many people are in your unit, taking into consideration pets. And then I guess maybe, as Mike last said, taking into consideration just how austere an environment you want to live in, right? If you want just enough water to get by, well, then it sounds like you only need 1/4 of the amount that I just said. There's basically 4 liters to a gallon, right? But I'm not sure if I'm planning on using water for flushing, because I'm about to talk in a couple minutes about the 2-bucket toilet system, which doesn't use water. But I certainly want to have enough water to brush my teeth, wash my hands, and prepare food and have a little bit left over to share with neighbors if they need it. So I don't want to run on empty. I want to have enough, and I think that's what underlies the guidance that the states come up with of having 1 gallon per person per day. But somewhere between a quart or liter and a gallon, somewhere in there is your sweet spot. And again, you guys need to decide what makes more sense for you at a household level, and then hopefully aggregate that demand up to, if you choose to do the Aquabrick approach and not buy the bottles like Mike said they got from New Seasons, but if you choose to do Aquabrick, then do it in a coordinated and consolidated fashion so we can really enjoy a substantial discount on these bottles. I think that's really important. Also, the cheapest water is the water that comes out of the tap. I mean, it does sound like Mike and company got a great deal from New Seasons, but still, when you're paying for bottled water, you're paying a premium for that, right? And water doesn't last forever in a bottle. You kind of have to use it eventually, or it would acquire taste and other things that probably would still be fine in terms of emergency survival. But ideally, you'd want to refresh your water every now and then. My best practice for my water jugs is I refill them every 6 months, and then I rotate them out of storage and I put one by the toilet, and I get, 3 flushes on my toilet. I turn the spigot off in the back of the toilet and refill the tank, right? And then I refill them, right? So I'm just rotating them with cheap, delicious Bull Run water, and but do whatever floats your boat. No pun intended, given we're talking about water. It works for you. That's great. But so I guess those were the observations I wanted to make. Individual responsibility for water, but collective action for purchasing at a discount, so that every household has ideally, enough water to get by for a couple of weeks, depending upon, how much water you think you need per day. So that would be my commentary. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Mike, before we turn it over to Arlene?
Yes, I like your idea about suspenders and belts. And we do have the HOA supply, because we talked about the inevitable case in which someone is not going to have been prepared. And we don't want people going up and down the halls begging for a cup of water, please. So that we do have a supply that we can provide to people that haven't done it. But certainly stressing individual preparation, both of food and water and sanitation, I think is essential.
And don't forget that most buildings in the Pearl District in particular, Howard, I see your hand, most buildings in the Pearl District also have like a continuous loop hot water distribution system. They have large boilers, right? So we've got embedded water resources in most of our communities. We need to make sure we know how our building systems work so we can secure that water, not have it drain out of the building, and then be able to get it out of those large water heaters, in manageable quantities so that it's actually useful to us. So that is, again, part of that belts and suspenders strategy.
Yes, and we have 4 250-gallon water heaters way upstairs. So we have provided an explanation, a plastic sheet explanation on the back of the door that tells anyone who goes in there how to turn off the hot water so it's not delivered to individual places, but then also how to siphon it out of the heaters and provide a source. So, we have 1,000 gallons of water available on a building level.
Great. Okay. So Howard, you're going to be next after Arlene. Arlene, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so you answered one question. I was going to ask if the water comes in the bricks, and obviously it doesn't, right? So, okay, and does each brick need its own spigot?
No, definitely not. So you get as many bricks as you want with these non-spigot lids that you tighten on, and then as you use them, assuming you had, let's say, 3 or 4 of them, right? You put the spigot only on the one that's sitting on your kitchen counter, and the other ones still have the solid lids, right? And so you only need one of these per household, no matter how many of these you've got, right? So 1 spigot and as many bricks as you want.
Okay.
And each brick comes with the solid lid that lets you, be able to seal it and store water in it. So that's the solution.
Let's see if I had some other questions. Are you making a video of this meeting?
I don't think we're recording this. No,
It is
we're not,
recording.
but the good news is that video.
It is recording. I see it.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah, it
wonderful.
is. It is.
Okay, so we are recording it, but we also have that video that Ann referenced that's professionally recorded. It shows you how to use them, everything. So between this recording and that YouTube video, I think we're going to have the bases covered.
Okay. I think that's all that I have.
Thank you, Howard.
Not believe.
When I was at Park Place, we looked into this, and we went pretty much the same route that Mike went, choosing to get bottled water. We got it from Costco, and you buy 20 liters or 5 gallons. It's about $7. And that includes the bottle deposit, which is 1/3 of the price. And it just seemed to me, I was concerned. We did it 2 ways. We each did it individually, and we also did it for the building. And my concern about doing it for the building is that someone has to fill these containers, whatever kind of container you choose. If you use the brick, And looking into that, you really should rinse it out first with a dilute solution of bleach, and then you should put the water in, and you don't need to do anything else, but to be safe, I would treat it like you're camping and put in 4 to 8 drops of bleach. Water should last forever, assuming no bacteria gets into it. And one of the things I looked into was that bottles you buy from Costco or wherever, have a use by date. And when I looked into that, I learned that basically any food stuff has to have a use by date. Most of them don't mean anything. I have cans of peas that I stored and beans that I stored 10 years ago, and I open them up periodically and they're still fine, even though they're 8 years past their use by date. So to me, if you buy bottles of water, it's the cheapest solution. The one downside of bottled water is those bottles are thin and you have to secure them or they're going to get thrown around during an earthquake. So to me, you have to weigh securing the bottles, which is the cheaper solution, but I'm not worried about Costco sterilization of the bottles. I assume that water's clean, and I'll rotate it every 5 years, like take the ones that are 5 years old and replace them, and dump them down the toilet like you do. I didn't trust that on a wide, if you don't have any control over it, I don't trust that people will put the water in and make sure it's clean. So I think that's the trade-off.
Oh. Just to be clear, I would not propose that at a building scale, communities buy these and then have some community storage of water in them. I think that's a recipe for disaster. This is an individual household solution where you buy your own bottles, you wash them out. If you choose to put a little bit of bleach in them, or so be it. I don't put bleach in mine, and then I like to change mine every 6 months. So even though it can, as you say, be in there perhaps even in perpetuity. So this is an individual exercise in doing it your own way, but definitely I'm not proposing that. The only thing I'm saying, the buildings would help facilitate the bulk purchase of those bottles by individuals who would then take custody of the empty containers, fill them themselves. And by the way, just buying the containers doesn't provide water security. You do have to fill them. So and so yeah, that'd be handled at an individual household level. But if a community decided they wanted to do it, with either getting disposable bottles from Costco or from New Seasons, whatever floats your boat, right? It doesn't matter as long as you do something, right? We want every building in the Pearl District to have had a campaign where all the individual households hopefully are taking appropriate measures to get at least whatever amount of water they think individually is reasonable, right? And I'd love to build momentum for this campaign in the coming weeks and months, so that hopefully in the springtime, when weather starts to turn, and hopefully by then the pandemic is starting to turn, well, we can collectively execute on this strategy. But I think it'd be great if everybody got excited, everybody got on board. We could talk about what this building and that building are doing, right? Then we'd have some energy and momentum that would make this more likely to be wholly successful. And that's why I'm pitching it at the committee level here this evening. Other questions or comments? Lindsay, I see your hand up. I think that's yours, or either you or Mark. Go ahead.
The Westover, the 10 or so people on our EPREP committee, we bought actually water bricks, we bought aqua bricks in the last year. And we did buy, one of the benefits of the bricks over water bottles is that they stack. And no one has mentioned that. And you can stack them in the back of your closet and you still have storage. And most of us live in units that storage space is at a premium. So that's what John's showing you. It's both water bricks and aqua bricks have that feature, which is great. The second thing is most of us bought a preservative that after you sterilize the bricks and then refill them with water, you put X number of drops in and the water then lasts for 5 years. And once you've handled these bricks full of water, you really appreciate the fact that you don't have to change that water out again for 5 more years because they are heavy. And if people are not, 30 years old and fit, that's going to be a problem to refill the water every 6 months. But I mean, you can, but we went with the
Our gyms are closed, Lindsay. This is a great way to work out. What are you talking
You're
about?
right. It is. They weigh a lot.
Yeah,
Anyway.
so water's a little bit more than 8 pounds a gallon. So 3 gallons is somewhere north of 25 pounds, right? I think or Patrick said 27 pounds or something. So yeah,
that's
they're not
right.
light.
Including the container, it's 27 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, John, about quantity of water. And that is when in December 2019, we took a 3-week motorhome trip. And so at the beginning and end of that trip, we had 2 or 3 days where the coach was motorized and we were using several aqua bricks for all of our water uses. And it is very difficult to live on a budget of 1 gallon per person per day if you're doing cooking, brushing your teeth, trying to wash your hands, if you're concerned about germs at all. I don't know if anybody's heard about viruses. So anyway, you can survive obviously on less than 1 gallon a day, but if you're trying to live even very carefully, 1 gallon per day is not, that much luxury.
How many bricks are in a pallet?
I think it depends on how high they stack the bricks on the pallet before they shrink wrap it. So
I see.
I don't recall. I might have to. I can look at my notes and see what the Sagan guys told me would be a normal maximum pallet. But we could also get the pallets, custom,
I
right?
see. Okay.
So
great.
I can answer that at least. The we got our order of 80 bricks on a pallet, and a pallet, the size of a pallet is 40 inches by 48 inches by 4 inches high.
Inches?
And then it depends on how much you stack on that, but that was the size of ours. 40
So
inches by 48 by 4 inches.
That's a small pen.
My notes from Sagan showed a pallet having 150 bottles on it. But I have to verify that. Is that
I'm
Patrick?
pretty sure that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we ended up with 2 pallets plus some extras that were sent by UPS for our 307 bricks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, so we're running out of time this evening. We got 5 minutes left. I'm gonna follow up, and I want people to email me back and let me know if their building is going to discuss this at their EPREP committee level, and then formally consider whether to adopt a campaign or not. So that's going to be a follow up that I'll hassle you guys about. And then, but I also want to talk about water's the sound of one hand clapping. That's why we need our pee and our poo buckets, right? And so everybody's familiar, with what you all know what I'm talking about. So
this is what I'm here. This is the content I'm here for.
Yes, and so we talked about having enough water, not just enough water to drink, but also enough to wash your hands. Well, that gets back to what we talked about. And Howard, I was hoping you might offer some commentary. I mean, like the earthquake, more people die of dysentery and disease, dehydration and dysentery and disasters than typically are killed by collapsing buildings. And while we may not face that same kind of challenge here, like they did in Port-au-Prince, Haiti or something, that disaster sanitation is in terms of belts and suspenders, we need water, and we need to make sure everybody's got the twin buckets so they can do their own toilets. Howard, can you just editorialize briefly about the infectious disease risks that we face in terms of waterborne disease?
Sure. Well, if you just think about I live in a 20-story building with, I don't know, 170 units. And you have to assume the plumbing is going to be broken. So you've got, I don't know, 80, 100 units with people in it at any one time, and they will continue to poop and pee, and you have to do something with that. I mean, if I live on the 16th floor, I mean, I have to store it somehow, and I don't want to contaminate everything else in my unit. So, putting a bag in the bucket, the kind of bucket that John has shown, and pooping in it is one way of dealing with it. The other thing, if you just sort of, you got to also figure out what you're going to do with those bags afterwards, because the real problem in disaster situations is that people tend to throw their waste in rivers or in water, because that's how we're used to disposing of waste. And at some point, we're going to run out of water, and people are going to start to drink water that's been contaminated, and that leads to pandemics, epidemics of diarrhea illnesses, and it makes life mighty uncomfortable, even if it doesn't kill you.
Thank you. And so we've talked about disaster sanitation before. We've got on our PD&A website, in our toolkit, some tools to think about this. Bill, can I share my screen? And I'd like to just show you an exhibit. I got to do the share button. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. There we go. And so, if you go on the website, there is a disaster sanitation and water storage spreadsheet. And so we're talking about, how much poop can a 5-gallon bucket hold, right? So it's right here at the household level. And then in terms of using those 65-gallon roll carts that we see, could they be used for interim storage? Or, if you want to go the full meal deal, no pun intended. Actually, that was pretty poor taste. But building at the building scale, using dumpsters, the recycling dumpsters we've got, they could be repurposed by lining them with plastic and then using them as a repository for the double bagged bags of poop that are coming out of your individual household buckets. So in this example, a 4-yard dumpster, if filled to 80% of capacity, for a 100-unit building where the average unit has got 1.5 people, that 4-yard dumpster could hold just over 15 days supply of poop, only filling it 80% of the way, right? So we're trying to think at a building scale in vertical communities about how to implement at the household level the twin bucket toilet system, but realizing that a single twin bucket toilet is probably gonna, for a 2-person household, give you, maybe a 7-day capacity, maybe less than that. Well, we need to plan on where we're going to put it in the interim until the municipal government can come and haul it away, once their ability to move vehicles around is restored. So we're going to need some kind of a building scale interim storage solution so that these bags of poop are not laying around to get torn by accident, for rodents to get into, or other vectors that can, spread cholera or other communicable diseases. So, we've got, again, household responsibility for the twin buckets, and then community scale planning for how we will manage on an interim basis, the bags of poop from the individual condominium and apartment units, for some period of time. Okay. And now I want to stop sharing my screen. Okay, so it is 7:01. I'd be happy to entertain some closing comments from people. I'm mostly interested in people saying, amen, you're so right, John, we got to do this. And if anybody's a naysayer, give me a call later. But but no, seriously, questions, comments, because we're going to revisit this digitally via email and try to build some momentum so that when we come back together as a committee on the second Monday of January, hopefully, we can be talking more about, are we all in on this? And then nodding heads, and then say, okay, let's start rolling out those organizing kits that Patrick and Ann used in their communities to raise awareness and solicit requests from individual tenants or residents to purchase these, and then go from there. So any questions or comments or concerns for, or anything for the good of the order before we break this evening? Mike.
Yes, we have considered this. There are 4 parts, individual storage, and we do have, we've passed out information on pee and poo buckets, and we have those posted on every floor and in the mail room. The second thing is, building storage. We have 5 dumpsters, and indeed we have bought 10 containers for each of those dumpsters. So in case of need, we simply go down, empty the dumpsters, line the containers, and then we have a containment system for the deposit of it. The problem, though, is how to get individual units down, with their pee and poo downstairs. That could be answered by the roll cart that you mentioned, 60 or 70 gallons of roll cart. But that could be wheeled around the individual floors periodically to capture the waste. The fourth problem is how to get those roll carts down from the 5th floor or the 16th floor into the dumpster area. And we've talked about sequestering some backup energy to run the elevators periodically. So we would not have the elevators running 24/7. We would have certain days when the elevators move, and that would allow us then to move the waste from individual floors downstairs. So it's just a matter of thinking ahead. How are you going to get from here to there, and how are you going to transport that too? Thank you.
Well, that's great, Michael. If you can share, if you've got any of that written up, that would be interesting to see, because I think you guys have kind of thought through the logistics of managing that, fully implementing this at a building scale. But it's that kind of thinking that we're going to need, and we need to do it before the disaster, not afterwards, right? So I see Judy's hand up, and did anybody else have a hand up? Then okay, after Judy, we're going to break for the evening out of respect for your time. But go ahead, Judy.
I just wanted to suggest that maybe we add this to the agenda for next time, for next month. Just a little bit of follow up on the sanitation to reiterate what we've talked about, and any other questions that may have come up in the interim, or new people that may be joining the conversation. Because I think it bears, we went in quite in depth on the water storage issue, and just a little bit more on the collecting of it, and how you do that.
Sure, I'll make a point of doing that. You're right. We did focus primarily on water this evening, and so perhaps we'll just loop back around and do a little a recap, maybe even a little more thorough discussion of the disaster sanitation side of this. But I really see these as twinned initiatives, right? I mean, we don't need the sound of one hand clapping. We want water and we want disaster sanitation, so we can all make some noise here. And and I think that we should definitely make this a twin campaign that we roll out in the coming months. The good news about the twin buckets is they're available for free from Metro, if you don't mind them having been used for recycled paint program, right? But the water, the aqua bricks, you can't get those for free, and you need them in good, pristine condition because they've got drinking water in them, right? So, but I think these are equally as important initiatives, and it's we need both sides of the house here to deal with both our hydration and prevention of diarrhea in the neighborhood so that we can weather whatever comes our way. All right, well, thanks so much, everybody. I'm sure this is a riveting conversation, and you're going to share it with your friends and loved ones over the holidays. I look forward to seeing you perhaps at Monday's COVID forum, and if not then hopefully next month at our EPREP committee meeting, where we will continue this discussion of this twin campaign. So bye for now, everybody, and have a great holiday season.